Welcome back to the Game Collection. I am SuperDerek, and this is The Legend of Dragoon. The Legend of Dragoon is perhaps best known for being not Final Fantasy VII. Shortly after the wild success of Final Fantasy VII, it seemed like every developer wanted to make the next big RPG on the block. People started throwing around the title Final Fantasy VII Killer, sort of like how every other Android phone was called an iPhone killer a few years back. Ironically, I think the use of this phrase inadvertently put Final Fantasy VII on such a tall pedestal that it actually had the opposite effect, cementing Final Fantasy VII as king. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if marketing departments still had this phrase tucked away for a rainy day. The Legend of Dragoon was released in the year 2000 for the PlayStation, and was advertised accordingly. And I think that's what a lot of people remember about the game. But because of that, I won't mention another Final Fantasy title for the rest of this review, because Legend of Dragoon is its own game, and it can stand on its own legs, regardless of when it was released and how it was marketed. I remember The Legend of Dragoon as my personal introduction to massive RPGs on the PlayStation that blew my mind, not that other game. So I was a little bit worried about going back to it. They say you can never go home again, and I was a little concerned about what that might mean for me. After all, it had been so long since I had played The Legend of Dragoon that I remembered almost nothing about it. In The Legend of Dragoon, you play as Dart, a man apparently in his early 20s who just came back from a journey of revenge to find his hometown in tatters after it was nearly burnt to the ground by an invading army the night before. Some of the villagers were wiped out, and Dart's childhood friend Shauna was captured for some mysterious power she possesses, unbeknownst to Dart. Needless to say, our hero decides to get her back. One thing leads to another, as they tend to do, and Dart and company find themselves dragoons, heirs to long-lost magic that enables them to don super powerful armors and call upon the power of dragons to down their foes. For the sake of simplicity, I'd like to say that it's kind of like the Power Rangers. But honestly, the Ronin Warriors is a much more apt comparison, what with the magic armors and elemental affinities. One of the more unique aspects of The Legend of Dragoon is its use of the additions system, which is similar to the extra hit timing system found in some Mario RPGs. However, rather than just being bonuses added on to the base damage, you'll find that the bulk of your damage dealt is by completing these additions, which consist of tapping on the X and circle buttons at precisely the right moment. Worth noting is that this is one of the few RPGs out there that I can think of where video lag might be a problem for some players. It sounds simple enough, but in later portions of the game the timing becomes trickier and additions get longer. It's also worth mentioning that these are not rhythm-based attacks, because they don't follow any sort of beat that I was able to discern. Another part of the game's battle system that is unique is the Dragoon transformations. Upon successful completion of additions, you build up spirit points. 100 points will grant you a turn of attack in Dragoon form, donning that awesome looking armor, some wings, some increased stats, and the ability to use magic that can't be used otherwise. The Dragoon form is a double-edged sword though, because using this form will prevent you from being able to use items or defend, the two main sources of healing in the game. That also brings us to the third and final bit of uniqueness, the fact that upon defending, your character recovers 10% of their hit points, which makes use of the defend command much more important than what you would find in most other RPGs, which you will need to incorporate into your strategy if you're gonna get far, especially since your inventory size is very restrictive and the few healing spells are locked behind those Dragoon transformations. The Legend of Dragoon is a massive game spanning 55 hours over 4 discs and several continents. Hidden throughout the game are 50 pieces of Stardust to collect and around 10 optional bosses, 9 playable characters, and plenty of rare monster drops. There's also plenty of things to grind, character levels, Dragoon levels, and addition skill levels. It can be overwhelming at times, especially if you're interested in hitting them all. And with all of that in mind, this game practically begs for a Game Plus mode, which sadly is completely absent. But in all honesty, as fun as this game is, after finally finishing the game, I'm ready to put this game down for a while. Visually, The Legend of Dragoon is excellent. Detailed hand-drawn backgrounds look beautiful, and some of the backgrounds are just wonderfully animated. The detailed flowing water graphics in particular are very striking in a way that very few modern games are able to achieve in 3 dimensions. While playing the game, I relived moments from my childhood that I thought I had dreamed up a long time ago, long after having forgotten the bulk of the game. And that, I think, is a pretty strong testament to the game's art direction. Inside battle, attacks are wonderfully animated as well. Special attacks are impressive and they look devastating. There is one major flaw though. Some special attacks take upwards of a full minute to complete, and because of the way additions work, even simple attack commands take 10 to 15 seconds to successfully complete. And that means that towards the end of the game, boss battle times inflate exponentially as you use stronger, flashier, and therefore longer attacks. The final battle in The Legend of Dragoon, for me, took about 45 minutes to an hour thanks in no small part to this quirk. Multiplying that by the number of failed attempts, and it was just about enough to drive me up a wall. Audibly, The Legend of Dragoon is fantastic for the most part. The battle theme never gets old, which is really important because you hear it a lot. Even beyond the battle theme though, the music sounds great, comparable to Squaresoft titles of the time. However, I can't really talk about the way that the game sounds without bringing up the voice acting. For the most part, it consists of grunts, shouts of the names of successfully executed attacks and spells. However, there are also some cutscenes in the game. Not a whole lot, but there are a few, and the ones with dialogue are enough to make me thankful that end-to-end voice acting wasn't realistic for RPGs on the PlayStation. In particular, the final cutscene of the game was so poorly done it sounds like the intentionally bad voice acting you hear on cartoons within TV shows, if you know what I mean. And the thing is, I have no idea why. The Legend of Dragoon was released within a year of Grandia, which sounded far superior. It's just inexcusably bad.
This isn't fair!
I mean, look it up if you need a good laugh, or, well, better yet, just beat the game. The Legend of Dragoon sold very, very well, earning itself an ugly green greatest hits label in the US. There are plenty of copies to go around, and complete copies can be picked up in the mid to low $20 range. Digitally, it can also be had on the PlayStation Network for just $6. There was a sequel that was planned, but it was eventually cancelled due to unknown reasons. Fans of the game still cry out for their sequel, and who knows, maybe they'll get it. Stranger things have happened. But in the meantime, The Legend of Dragoon, an only child, can sit with its head held high among the other classic PlayStation RPGs on the Game Collection.